Hello and welcome to Fire of Learning. Niccolo Machiavelli's book, The Prince, was published in 1532, 5 years after his death. In this video, we're going to explore 10 particularly noteworthy lessons from that book. Originally, The Prince was meant as a guide for rulers, especially kings and political leaders of the time. Of course, taken literally, most of us aren't kings. Unless you are, I don't know. But the wisdom in this book isn't just for monarchs or politicians. These ideas can easily be adapted to modern life, whether you're navigating the business world, social dynamics, or personal development. So with that said, let's dive in and get started. Number 10. Distrust, Mercenaries, and Auxiliaries. Machiavelli wasn't just warning kings, he was warning anyone who builds their strength on the backs of people who don't truly care about them. In The Prince, he tells us to never trust mercenaries or auxiliaries, soldiers who fight not out of loyalty but for a paycheck or another ruler's favor. Why? Because when pressure hits, they vanish. They weren't with you for the mission, they were in it for themselves. And that truth, it applies far beyond the battlefield. In life, business, and relationships, if you surround yourself with people who aren't invested in your vision, you're building on sand. Machiavelli saw entire Italian states crumble because their armies weren't bound by loyalty-only contract. His message is simple: build your own forces. Raise people who win when you win. Whether you're leading a company, a team, or even just protecting your values, never outsource your foundation. Because when things fall apart, you don't want to find out too late who was never really on your side. Number 9. Imitate the greats. But adapt, you'll never be Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar. And Machiavelli knew that. But he also believed you should study them like your life depends on it, because in some ways it does. His point wasn't to become a perfect copy of greatness, but to absorb the patterns, the instincts, the mindset of those who stood above the rest. Imitation isn't weakness, it's strategic learning. The truth is, there's no clear map to power or success, but history leaves behind clues. Machiavelli urges us to follow the footsteps of those who succeeded, not to flatter them, but to shorten our own path. Of course, you won't always be able to imitate. Life throws chaos. Enemies adapt. Environments shift. And that's when your judgment matters most. But if your foundation is built from the moves of the masters, you'll be far less likely to act foolishly when you're alone on the battlefield, whether that's in business leadership or your personal life. Learn from the giants, but don't forget the next move is yours. Number 8. Never empower your rivals. One of the most dangerous mistakes a leader can make, and yet one of the most common, is accidentally feeding their enemies. Machiavelli saw it happen again and again. Powerful rulers who, in pursuit of short-term wins, handed influence to those who would eventually destroy them. He points to the King of France, who foolishly allied with the Pope and smaller states, only to watch them rise and take control of the region. It's a painful reminder that not everyone who seems small stays small. In fact, when you lift someone up without securing their loyalty, you may be building the weapon that later cuts you down. Emotionally, this hits home too. How often do we support people in business relationships, even friendships, only to find out later that they've taken what we gave and used it against us? Machiavelli's warning is clear. Be careful who you empower. Don't mistake temporary alignment for true alliance. If you must build with others, make sure they rise with you, not above you. Because in the end, only one can sit on the throne. Number 7. Don't change too much. After conquering, when you take control of something new, whether it's a team, a company, or even a relationship, your first instinct might be to fix everything. To rewrite the rules, replace the system, stamp your identity on it all. But Machiavelli warns against this. He believed that when you conquer new territory, the smartest move isn't domination, it's integration. People don't rebel because you're in charge. They rebel because you disrupt their sense of normal. If you strip away their customs, their laws, their routines, you turn yourself into the enemy. Instead, Machiavelli suggests a subtle strategy: keep their familiar systems intact unless absolutely necessary. Let them govern themselves to some extent, but make sure that government depends on you. It's not about control through force, it's control through stability. Emotionally, this speaks to leadership in all forms. Real power doesn't scream. It listens, adapts, and blends in until its roots are too deep to pull. So if you want loyalty from something new, don't shock it. Shape it slowly. Let people feel safe in your rule, even as you hold all the strings. Number 6, power plus. Opportunity must go together. Power and opportunity, one without the other, is useless. That's the core of Machiavelli's insight here. You can be incredibly talented, intelligent, even ruthless. But if no doors ever open, your strength dies unused. On the flip side, you can stumble into the perfect opportunity, but without the inner strength, skill, and readiness to act, it slips right through your fingers. Machiavelli urges us to stop relying on luck or waiting for the right time. Fortune, he says, is like a river, powerful, unpredictable, and dangerous. But the wise don't sit around praying for calm water. They build dams, channels, and prepare themselves for the flood. Emotionally, this hits deep. So many people live stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they never prepared to grab the moment when it came. Or worse, they get their shot and freeze. Machiavelli's truth: stop depending on fortune. Build your power before the opportunity arrives. When chance knocks, don't hesitate. Swing the door open like you were born for it. Because in this world, those who wait to be lucky rarely win. Number 5. Forget ideals. Focus on reality. It's a hard truth, but Machiavelli never cared about comforting lies. He believed that those who cling too tightly to how the world ought to be end up crushed by how it really is. We're taught to be kind, to act with integrity, to change broken systems from the inside out. But Machiavelli saw the trap in that. He warns that idealism without power is suicide. If you try to rise by playing fair in a world that doesn't, you'll be outmaneuvered and discarded. That doesn't mean you have to become a monster, but it does mean you can't afford to be naive. If change must happen, do it with force. History, he reminds us, rewards the armed prophets, those who speak truth with power behind their words. The unarmed ones, they vanish. Emotionally, this is painful for anyone who's tried to do the right thing and been punished for it. But Machiavelli offers a powerful shift. Don't abandon your values, just don't be ruled by them. Be strategic, be strong, and most of all, be ready to do what works, not just what feels right. Number 4. Understand the people versus the nobles. Machiavelli saw power as a delicate balancing act, and nothing proves it more than his view on nobles versus the people. He warns that both groups can be dangerous, but for entirely different reasons. The nobles, they're ambitious. They want more power, and they'll manipulate, betray, or pressure you if it serves their agenda. The people, they want protection from exploitation, from oppression, from being ignored. If you lose the nobles, you may be undermined. But if you lose the people, you're done. Revolt, rebellion, chaos, it comes fast, and it comes with force. Machiavelli's advice is clear. While both groups matter, it's safer to stand with the people. Why? Because if they trust you, the nobles can't touch you. But if the people hate you, the nobles will use that as a weapon. Emotionally, this speaks to modern leadership too. In business, politics, or even your own circle, don't just curry favor with the powerful. Earn the loyalty of those who feel unseen. Because true strength doesn't come from pleasing the elite. It comes from being too deeply rooted in the people to be removed. Number 3. Appear virtuous, act strategically. Machiavelli understood something that most people still struggle with: appearances matter more than truth, especially when you're in power. He wasn't telling you to be fake. He was telling you to be smart. A leader, he said, should look merciful, faithful, generous, and moral because people trust what they see. But behind the curtain, when survival is on the line, you must be willing to act in the complete opposite way. If you're too honest, too kind, too rigidly good, your enemies will use it against you. People say they want authenticity, but what they often respect is control. So wear the mask. Not out of deception, but out of precision. Because once you're seen as weak, too soft, too uncertain, too emotional, your authority crumbles. This isn't about being heartless. It's about understanding the battlefield you're on. And on that field, success doesn't always go to the most virtuous. It goes to the most disciplined. So, project strength. Speak with grace. But when the door closes and pressure rises, do what needs to be done without apology. Number 2. Better to be feared than loved. Machiavelli didn't believe greatness was born, he believed it was studied. You may never match the exact steps of a Caesar or a Cyrus, but that shouldn't stop you from learning everything they did right. Because in the real world, there's no honor in trying to figure it all out yourself if someone else has already blazed the path. Greatness leaves footprints, and Machiavelli says it's your job to follow them as far as you can. Study their patterns, their habits, their timing, absorb their victories, and especially their mistakes. Still, life won't always hand you the same script. You'll be forced into decisions that no mentor, no history book ever prepared you for. In those moments, Machiavelli advises, don't be reckless, but don't freeze either. Take the wisdom of the past and bend it to the present. Emotionally, this speaks to all of us striving to lead, to grow, to make impact. You don't have to be legendary, but you can walk like you're heading in that direction. And sometimes trying your best to imitate greatness is what creates your own. Number 1. Final takeaway. Machiavelli delivers one of his most brutal and misunderstood truths here. If you must choose between being loved or feared, choose fear. Not because cruelty is admirable, but because fear is reliable. Love is soft. It wavers. People love you until you say no, until you disappoint them, until someone else offers more. But fear creates boundaries. It keeps chaos at bay. A feared leader is respected. A loved leader, if not careful, becomes a servant to public opinion. That doesn't mean you can't have both. Machiavelli says the ideal is to be both loved and feared. But if you must choose, pick the one that keeps your position safe. And if you're going to use force, do it quickly and decisively. Inflict pain once, not slowly over time. Dragging it out makes you look sadistic, unstable. But swift action sends a message: you don't play games. Emotionally, this advice stings because we all want to be liked. But power doesn't come from approval. It comes from being unshakable. And when respect is on the line, fear, not affection, holds the throne. The message I would like to convey to you: in life, as in leadership, strength isn't about being the loudest or the most liked. It's about being the most strategic. Machiavelli teaches us that loyalty must be earned, power must be protected, and appearances must be managed. You don't need to be ruthless, but you must be wise. Trust carefully, act with purpose, show kindness, but never at the cost of respect. Whether you're navigating relationships, business, or personal growth, remember the world often rewards those who understand how it really works, not how it should work. Don't just hope to succeed by being good. Succeed by being prepared, by reading people clearly, and by choosing strength when it counts most. Machiavelli's top 10 tips from his very famous book, The Prince. It's certainly not his only advice, though I would highly recommend reading the book. And for more videos like this and videos on many other subjects, I would invite you to check out Fire Learning and subscribe. Thank you for watching.